Sam L. Cohen had to grow up fast, reckoning with the loss of his father and the Great Depression. But he expanded the family business, served in the military, and contributed to Jewish life in his native Biddeford. At Eitz Chaim Synagogue there, he did everything from tutor bar mitzvah students to being president. His philanthropy reached beyond the Jewish community. He helped fund a swimming pool at a YMCA, contributed to hospitals, and at Christmas time would ask priests and ministers who needed to be supplied with food for a holiday meal. His foundation continues to support philanthropic causes. Sam Cohen's niece, Karen Kernetsky-Levine, is here today as we name him to our Hall of Fame.
I just wanted to share a couple of words. First of all, I want to thank everybody responsible for giving my uncle this honor, and I represent a large family. He was one of 7 siblings, and lots of cousins, aunts, uncles, in saying thank you. There's just one thing that I wanted to share that I think is very instrumental in making Sam who he was. I'm going to tell you just briefly. It was a tradition in my growing up nuclear family that when my mother lit the Shabbos candles and put money in the pushki, my mother was Annetta Sam's sister, let me put it that way, and put money in the pushki, my brother and I would put dimes in a little, what we called I-bank, and we would send it, when it was full, we would send it to blind people somewhere in the world. Well, my father died when I was 11 and my brother was 9, and maybe the following Shabbos or the one after that, my mother was lighting the Shabbos candles and handed us the I-bank to put our dimes in. And I said to her, "Mommy, since Daddy died, we're going to be poor and we need this money." She looked at me and she said, my mother was very straightforward. Let me find it here. She said, "Karen, even when we had so little during the Depression, your grandmother Celia always said, if you're not poor enough to receive charity, you're rich enough to give it. And we are not poor enough to receive charity." My brother and I dutifully put our dimes in the bank. My grandmother's wisdom has been a guiding principle passed down through the generations and was certainly a core value of my Uncle Sam's. I think of it often, and I love it for its common sense simplicity. It's not about subjectively assessing whether or not you have enough money to share. How do we make that determination? There's always something else we need. It's really black and white and straightforward. If you are not receiving charity, you can find something to give to somebody who has less than you do. Excuse me. When times were difficult for Uncle Sam, he gave what he could. When he had more, he gave more. Even with all of his financial success, he lived simply, finding pleasure not in material things, but in helping others. Several weeks before my uncle died, my husband and I stopped in to see him in Biddeford on one of the many trips we made from Portland to Boston. Uncle Sam was always a kidder, veering from the discomfort of too much emotion and replacing it with lightheartedness. On this particular day, our conversation was uncharacteristically serious. We talked about God and how one can know if he has lived, if the life he has lived has been worthwhile. Sam's final question to me was this, and I quote, "Karen, do you think my mother would be proud of me?" The question took me aback. I paused for a moment. Let's see. Despite his larger-than-life stories and his bravado, my Uncle Sam was a humble man. I said to him, "Uncle Sam, I think what we all want to do in our life is know that we made a difference and that we left the world a better place. than when we arrived here. I said to him, "You have made a tremendous difference in the lives of others, not only by the gifts you have given, but by the example you have led. I think all of us gathered here today would agree that Sam's question is that, yes, Sam, your mother is proud of you. We are all proud of you."
Sam Cohen was most often described by those who knew him as a mensch. He grew up during the Depression in a close-knit Jewish community in Biddeford, where lifelong friendships were formed with the Oshers, the Nathansons, and many other families. As part of a thriving, loving family, when Sam's father passed away, Sam took on the role of provider to the family and his 6 siblings. With charisma and business acumen, he made a great success of the family business along with his brother Bernard, York Bottling Company. Sam continued his success in the commercial real estate development business in Maine and investment in the founding of Golden West Savings and Loan. Described as loving practical jokes and possessing a keen interest in politics and the law, friends and family also characterized Sam as being a thoughtful observer with strong opinions. Echoing those sentiments, former Senator George Mitchell remarked of Sam, quote, "He was a good friend and a wise counselor who gave frank advice. He would give you the truth with the bark off, as they say, and he had a great sense of humor, so you got good advice and great jokes at the same time." End quote. Sam was instrumental in maintaining the well-being of Etz Chaim Synagogue in Biddeford and was a fixture there behind the scenes, making sure everything was taken care of during the holidays and the Sabbaths as well. He also did bar mitzvah tutoring when needed. As president of the congregation, he was instrumental in keeping it going and in its rebirth. Sam lived tzedakah. He gave willingly, and before being asked, quote, "If he got up in the morning and went to bed that night and felt he didn't help someone, he didn't sleep," said Lester Cohen, his brother. Every year at Christmas time, he would consult with Catholic priests and other ministers in the area as to who might need Thanksgiving dinners or Christmas dinners. Sam established the swimming pool at the Biddeford YMCA and physical therapy center at the Cedars in honor of his parents, Julius and Celia Cohen, and contributed to Gary's House in honor of his brother, Bernard. Sam was dedicated to helping children with cancer and founded the STAMI Fund at the Maine Children's Cancer Center. His generosity was felt throughout the state. Sam's legacy continues with the Sam L. Cohen Foundation, a philanthropic foundation supporting nonprofit organizations established by him. The foundation strives to ensure that all people have the opportunity to develop their potential and provide healthy, productive futures for themselves, their families, and their communities. The foundation concentrates its efforts in southern Maine and supports a wide variety of organizations that provide access to educational opportunities, promote culture and the arts, contribute to civic improvement and community well-being, increase access to health care, or preserve Jewish traditions, culture, and community. Since Sam's passing, the foundation has awarded over $23,410,358 to 449 nonprofit organizations.